All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Hobby Roundtable. We're a group of content creators and hobby enthusiasts coming together once a month to talk about the hobby we love. I've got with us this month Ken from BeamsBCardBlog.com and Dan at KBO Collections, Uncle Rich at Rich, is it Saber Geek?
Saber Geek is correct.
Okay, because you've got Uncle Rich Klein.
Well,
okay.
I figure it's easier for people to know me as Uncle Rich.
Okay. And Bo from at 1 Million Cubs, and joining us this for the first time is Diego from at CBSC_club. Is that right, Diego?
Yeah, if I can remember.
So,
I don't use it that much.
Am I the only one that thinks that Diego looks like he's sitting right beside Bo in his basement?
He does, right?
I'm the continuation.
Yeah. So how's everybody doing?
In New Jersey.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good, man.
I gotta tell you, this has been an up and down week for the hobby. I know this isn't what we wanted to start with, but there's been some really good highs and some nuts and some pretty darn bad lows for the hobby this week. And I mean, overall it's positive, but it's one of these things that if you're in for it for the long haul, as I suspect we all are, you treat the good news with a smile and the bad news is a blip.
Right. What are you referring to?
Well, the good news is that, with the mask mandate being relaxed by the CDC, the NSCC put out a post. They're not guaranteeing it, but they're basically saying we're going to have the national.
Okay.
And that's really good news.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably the only person in the world who wanted to go to Atlantic City last year because I was going to visit friends and relatives, many of whom I had not seen since 2006 after the show.
Right. I was just going to go because it was close to me.
Right. And I never got to go. I'll have to hope. I'm now the only person in the world probably rooting for Atlantic City in 2022. But the low is...
you are.
What?
Yeah, you are. Nobody wants to go to that cesspool.
Yeah, I get that totally.
I'm not
that's
going.
That's why I told Dr. Jim you're the get off the lawn guy, Ken. I love you.
But yeah, that's like Chicago this year. I was even everybody. I think everybody here pretty much knows my fear of flying, but I was almost willing to give that up and look into going to Chicago until they started talking about it started getting kind of iffy, and then they started talking about kind of limiting your time in it. And I'm like, that's a long way to go to have a set time that you can go in. And I've said this before that, I would go to for the cards to look for some stuff that I might want or whatever. But probably the main reason I would go that far would be to see people like, everybody on here that may would be there. So
I totally hear you. And I'm like I'm going, but in what capacity, I don't know, because how restricted is the national going to be? I definitely think it's going to be a go in July, early August, whenever the schedule is on schedule. But, is it going to be set in stages? I don't want to get, my VIP pass, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is only good for. So I'm just going to wait and see. I'm a 2-hour car ride to Rosemont. So, I don't have to make flight arrangements. I don't, I can I have friends that are close enough that I could just commute. So it's not really I don't have that, like the rest of the panel here would have those issues. So I'm in, a better spot in that regard. So I'm just kind of waiting it out, and I expect that I think they said they were going to make a decision on June 1st. And I expect that, that June 1st, if they make it as, I think they've already made the decision. Now it's like a wait and see, like, how are we actually going to, what's it going to entail as far as, are we going to have to limit the number of people, inside the room? Does that mean we'll have to break it out in sessions? I think that June 1st date, that's when we'll know more as far as how it's going to be, how it's going to be laid out. So I'm just going to wait, and I don't have to make travel arrangements. So that's I feel for july that would have to, because it's like June 1st to July 28th is not much time.
You figure if you've got to go through the hassle of booking a flight, getting out there, making sure you have a place to stay, making sure you got a way to get from the airport to there, and then you get there and they say, well, your ticket's only good for 4 hours.
Right.
Well, you spent more than 4 hours trying to get there.
Yeah.
For somebody like me, I mean, it's a 13-hour car ride, or I can jump on a plane and which is it's not an easy task for me because I've never been on one, but I had actually considered it and looked into it until the wishy-washy stuff kind of started coming out. So
okay. I just posted into the private chat the latest Facebook message from the NSCC. So feel free if somebody wants to copy it into the comments to do so.
I got you.
And that tells you what the NSCC was thinking of as of a couple days ago.
I was hearing that some like other YouTubers were already like, oh, we have like the hotel room already booked and a plane flight already there, and just in case the Nationals was going to happen. Well, so I feel bad for them who already put in the money.
I know our ComC team has our hotel rooms booked, and I think we'll probably book the plane flights and just take the shot, so to speak. Sorry, but pardon the pun for those that use the word shot for vaccine. So sorry about that. But I just wanted to point out, though, that the Philly show, I believe in 2 weeks, has announced 100% capacity, just like the Texas show down here. And we've gone through the Texas shows without any major outbreaks, and at that point it was a little bit, to me, tougher than it was now. And so we've gotten through that we did get some people. I'm pretty sure the January show did cause some people to get sick, but it wasn't a super spreader event. And if we got through that without a super spreader event, and we got through March really without much of an issue at all, I don't want to ever make a guarantee, but I think we're in. If I had to put an ad, I'd say 80-20. We're going to have a semi-normal national, and what I mean by that is I suspect it'll be more dealer and collector based than corporate based, because you're not going to have the Alan Nars pack wars, with 1,000 people congregating in the Topps corporate area. You're not going to have the Panini Redemption lines going out the door. You're not going to have whatever Upper Deck does. I think you're going to have a very different world. And I think you might even have more vendors. I mean, I'm not speaking for anybody. I'm just saying if I was reimagining the National for 2021, that's what I think is going to happen. Like, for example, PSA has already announced that they're not doing the registry lunch. So there are things that are going to evolve this year.
I was at the Wisconsin Dell show this weekend. Well, today, and Wisconsin has been kind of in line with Illinois as far as restrictions. A little more lax than Illinois, but definitely not as lax as some other states as far as crowd attendance and mask and all that. So this weekend the show was maskless, and it was. I'm fully vaccinated. I felt comfortable taking the mask off, and a large majority were. So I think that was definitely a step in the right direction. I know as far as in terms of like with baseball, Miller Park, Milwaukee Brewers, it's not Miller anymore. I can't remember the new name, but they're going to 100% capacity for their baseball games. Chicago with their bridge phase. Wrigley and the White Sox home field, they're going to 60% capacity. So, we're kind of in that, as far as restrictions with COVID based on how the state's handling it. we've kind of been similar to Illinois, but just not quite as restricted. So it was nice to see, a nice crowd at the show today. Big space, and and going maskless.
Yeah. But and I know everybody's touched on this week, and it's kind of been the hot topic. But the deal with Target dropping retail, and I thought we talked back and forth a little bit on your show, Bo, about different things they could have tried that they didn't, like alternating their stocking schedule. To me, pulling them off the shelf really isn't the answer, because it goes back to now you're going to have to fight the bots, which I think that's what everybody's worried about. But does anybody else in here feel like that, there was other stuff they could have tried rather than, keep the limits, but they could have alternated their stocking schedule to eliminate the lines and the fights and whatnot. Because if everybody's thinking they're coming out on Friday, but they came out on Wednesday, then the ones that thought they were going to be there Friday, by the time they get there, everybody else has had a chance to at least get something.
But having known people who do deliveries, they're on schedules.
Right.
So unless you change everybody's schedule, and soon enough that gets found out anyway, you really can't do much. I think with Target, and I'm surprised Walmart hasn't gone that far either. I will say the only thing I saw in Walmart today, and I bought 4 of them, were the $11.95 Diamond King blasters, or $11.99, whatever it was. I bought, yes, or the 20 cards in the pack, and I actually did. When I priced the better cards, I actually, using the Beckett prices, I actually made a profit, which is stunning out of packs like that. Of course, I got to sell the cards.
Right.
But I'm fine with the $11.98 Diamond Kings. I don't need the things everybody else wants to flip. You give me Heritage Blasters, I'm a happy camper. You give me Topps 2 when it comes out, I'm a happy camper buying that. I don't need the happy shiny cards from Panini. What my wish, and I'll talk about this further later on other things, is that I know several dealers who have been in this business a long time that can't get Panini products direct, from Panini. They're not on the Panini list. They're store owners. They've been in the business 30 years. I've known them since they were Beckett regional correspondents. One guy's had a store for more than 30 years and he can't get Panini. Mm-hmm. I'd rather he get it than the bot or the or the flippers, because at least he will make a reasonable markup and sell it accordingly. And that way, people who come into the store are buying it for the right reasons. I hear the stories. Well, I'm just buying this because I know I can flip these to make money. And Kim can probably tell you, when you walk around the Dallas Card Show, my eyes glaze when I walk around and see all the retail boxes behind people's tables or on top of people's tables. Roger's there. My friend Duke is there. Ron and Rhett have a nice table. I have an interesting table. There are some interesting people, but for the most part, you could throw a blanket over 75% of the dealers and it looks the same.
Well, we've got a show coming up. I say it's not really local. It's about an hour and 45 minutes away from me, but I'm going this weekend, and I can promise you, if they don't have 72 high numbers, I'm not looking. I'm not looking for retail at a car show.
I thought what was a breath of fresh air regarding this was how transparent DJ Kazmierzak from Panini was.
Right.
And I listened he was on with Eric Norton from Beckett on Wednesday, and then he was on with Ivan and Rob on Thursday night, and was very transparent with his conversations with the target buyer. He had mentioned that with MJ Holdings, they were actually changing up their schedules, but XL, the target vendor, has not been changing up, and the issues were popping up at Target stores, most notably last week's issue in Milwaukee. So it was really nice to hear the inside of what's going on, because with retail, it's basically for us just regular collectors. We don't know, like it's just a guessing game. There's never really been like, this is how retail works. This is how, this is, and so it's all speculation. And you see like these random no-name people on social media post, well, Walmart's going to do this, Target's going to do this, and people run with it thinking it's actual legit news when it's not. And DJ actually came out and tweeted something a week ago like, hey, this is not the case. I can guarantee you Target, Walmart is not stopping the card sales. And even the issue now with Target, this is not Target stopping card sales. It's a temporary pause. And he reiterated that several times. So I thought, major kudos to DJ for stepping out into the spotlight and saying, okay, here's what's right, here's what's wrong, and this is what's going on. Because we really haven't seen that when it comes down to the retail side of things.
And here's something else. We have a racing guy here. Yes, you can. And if you look carefully, look at the items that aren't being carried. It's MLB, NBA, NFL, and Pokemon. It doesn't say there won't be NHL cards. It doesn't say there won't be racing cards. It doesn't say there won't be Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You should be able to find some cards if you so desire at retail. It just won't be the cards that have caused the flipping mania, that have also caused things like 2021 score football to come out at $300 retail for a hobby box, where you look at that number and you think maybe it should be 60 to 80 to 100, and 100 on a good day, and it comes out at 300. I mean, think about that for a second. And one of the things is when Panini builds a product, they don't build a product based on a $300 retail value for Score. If they think Score is going to be a $100 box like it's been for the last 10 years, or $80 box, most of their boxes will be built with a $60, $80, $100 retail in mind, not a $300. It makes you as a consumer almost guaranteed to lose. Either that or the price of every card should go up. And when I do Kyle's show next week, every card should sell out from my table, because with the way prices are going, everything I have is undervalued.
Right.
I was actually thinking that with Target and their little step back, being that I have a family member who works there, she said the craziness is crazy. And she was just like, a step back is probably fresh, just to think of a new plan, get it done. And she's like, you guys are crazy. Like, I thought you were the only collector in the world, you're the only crazy guy, because of all this when they come over here. But I think the break, to get back to the question, I think the break was good because they're not stopping. It's coming back. It's just they need to they're trying to reassess everything themselves. I would take it.
All right.
And remember, when violence becomes part of the deal, that's not good for anybody. I think back to the 80s, and I don't want to say it was a regular occurrence, but there were a decent number of fights at card shows back in the days.
Yeah.
Of course, these are New York people with tempers, but there was actually a decent amount of fights between vendors at card shows back in the day. I saw a bunch of them.
But now, am I the only one that thinks that you don't hear about these issues at Walmart? With the
cards at Walmart anymore.
Well, I heard a line.
I don't see cards at Walmart anymore.
Yeah,
I heard a line this morning that at Walmart, that's just considered the crazy things you see at Walmart, and just goes into that little.
That's a Facebook group called the People of Walmart.
Yes.
But no, it's like, which I know, and I know it was said on Beckett Live, that Target has kept a dedicated 24-foot of space for sports cards and Magic and Pokemon and all that. Walmart's kind of fluctuated back and forth, but and lately it's became more Pokemon, Magic, and what's the other one?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's like the sports cards have gotten smaller and smaller. But I've talked to people that work like the front end at my Walmart, and they don't have when the vendor comes and fills the shelf shortly after he leaves, people come in and wipe it out. But it's not like they don't have lines standing outside the door waiting. So it's like this. I told Bo this morning, I went into Walmart this morning to get dog food. That's all I was in there for. And I just happened to check out in the line where they have the cards at, and I turn around and look. There's 6 packs of Bowman still sitting on the shelf, and I was shocked. Like, whoa, wait a minute! I knew it was stocked yesterday before lunch, and these are still on the shelf. So I grabbed them, because it was the last thing left. That and 2 packs of Heritage, and I grabbed 6 Bowman and 2 Heritage.
And remember, Target tried everything, including 1 item per customer.
Yeah.
And when we say 1 item per customer, 2 packs were actually considered 2 items.
Right.
So they tried almost anything to reduce the issue, and it did not work. I think Walmart, for whatever reason, is more sane in this, and I don't know why. It's been. I honestly, it also maybe lets us reassess what the next products come out for at an SRP at Walmart or a Target. If your SRP is $29.95 instead of $19.95, and the $40 boxes become $49.95 or $59.95, I bought some Series 1 tins a couple weeks ago. They were $14.95, $11.95, and I opened them up, and I dropped the other one on the floor. But here's a tin, and when I opened the tin, I said, for the price of the tin, it's actually a pretty good value for the cards inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very happy with that, because I don't want to say I look for retail value, but I look for the value. Oh, I love cards like that, Ken. But I look for the retail value to be something close. I don't want to open a box, and that's one of the things with Heritage over the years. Last year, you're guaranteed, for the most part, 2 short prints and usually 1 or 2 other things. $19.95 was a great deal for Heritage. You could, I want to say, win or come close a lot.
Right. Yeah. And my Walmart had tins, I want to say about 3 weeks ago, and they had, there was like 25, 30 of them on the shelf, and they sit there for a week.
Yeah.
I looked through them. I'm not going to, I looked through them, but I wanted the Acuna, and the only reason I wanted it, I didn't want it to open it. I wanted it to put it up on the shelf and keep, but I didn't want a Bryce Harper or somebody like that. So, and I'm sure that the Acuna was the first thing going around here. So if anybody finds an Acuna,
sorry, the 2 I got were Judge and Harper.
And everybody that's selling them online, it's sorry, it's random. We can't just send a specific one. So
Yeah.
So
That
all right,
makes sense.
since we've kind of talked about retail, one of the topics I wanted to talk about tonight was with everything going on in the hobby, which is the lack of retail was one, and the weight grading has gone crazy, and PSA's paused their submissions. Hobby prices, fractional shares coming out now, NFTs. Where does the hobby go from here? Is this stuff going to just keep going, or and I know everybody talks about a bubble and the corrections and all that, but where do y'all feel like the hobby goes?
Well, I think Bo, who's actually running shows on a fairly regular basis, is probably closer to the hobby than any of us, because he's probably seeing more people on a day-to-day basis. So I'd love to hear begin with what he says.
Yeah, so the show we promoted last month was actually a real breath of fresh air with regard to the variety of vendors that we had. We had some vintage vendors that had some really cool, like, oddball stuff. Vintage stuff. We had a vendor that had nothing but slabs, shiny slabs, like your Prism Zions and Tom Brady rookies, Trout rookies. And then, I'm the quarter box guy. And so we had a nice little variety. I was in the Wisconsin Dells today, the first big Midwest show, at least in Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, in the, 4-state area since 2019, really. And it was just slabs. I was shocked at the amount of cases with nothing but PSA, mostly PSA. So I know why there's a backlog for all the grading companies. Was just 90% of the table had slabs. I was surprised by the amount of basketball. I'm a bargain box. Like, I'm gonna go through the 25-cent boxes, the dollar boxes. I'm gonna find those cheap flips. I'm not into the high end game. I'm not into slabs. I'm gonna go dig through quarter boxes and try to pull 25-cent cards and flip them for $2 or $3, and just kind of build my collection off those small dollar gains. And usually when you go to a show, in recent history, it's been a majority baseball. Whereas this weekend show in the Dells, it was like every bargain box was basketball. And I bought about 3,000, probably 2,500 NBA rookie cards from the last 2 years, of second tier, third tier guys. But I paid probably 15 cents a piece in the different deals I did. So I'm just going to put them in a box and put them on a shelf. So to answer the question, I have no idea where it's going. Within the past year, I've been wrong 90% of the time on like everything to do with the hobby. Everything changes, and I thought it would have slowed down by now, but it's still it's still pumping, with money and more people getting into it. But I think we were talking about this beforehand off the air, and I think Ken mentioned it, was we're starting to see a divide of what actually is starting to take hold as far as what's hot in the hobby. And I'll let Ken kind of elaborate more on that, but I definitely agree with him on that. So I'll let Ken talk about his thoughts on where that's going.
Well, I had just said that, it seemed like 9-12 months ago, everything was selling. You had the guys that are roughly our age that are coming back in and buying those 80s and 90s that you give away for years. But yeah, it just seemed like everything was selling. Everything had a spike. I know obviously star players had more of a spike than other stuff, but it seemed like everything would sell. And now it seems like we're past that. The bubble on that has already burst, because everything we seem to hear about, the hobby's great, the hobby's growing, it's kind of like Rich said about the card shows. 85% of those tables are the same things, and it's those things that are taking off. I follow on YouTube, I subscribe to a channel, what's he call himself? Sports Card Investor Dealer Collector or something like that, and he goes through weekly and does top sales from the last week. It's the same, the top 10 sales. It's the same 3 guys. It's the same 5 cards. It's the same things over and over. Those are hot, and that's what fractional shares are buying. Fractional shares aren't buying the things that everybody I'm looking at on this screen right here is a collector first. Yes, most of us sell stuff, but we're collectors first. And that stuff that we're looking for, that stuff that we mess with, that, that peak seems to be over. Maybe comes back. I don't know. That's at least what I see. I said, I sent off a lot of stuff to consignment, and unfortunately, I missed the spike on a lot of it because we're here sitting on 25 Kobe Bryant rookies or a 1952 Jackie Robinson. I've got the other stuff. And, maybe I missed the boat a little bit on that, getting that stuff off to consignment. But at least that's what I see. Again, I have also taken a step back from social media a little bit. I'm not as active as I was. I'm not quite as active in YouTube as I was. So maybe I'm just not seeing it, but that's what I'm seeing.
I actually saw like in my
Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
I do like auctions and stuff like that. And there was a time where the 80s and 90s and all these cards were going like just like a 4,000 count box was like going for a crazy amount. And I was just like, what the heck is going on? This is where I buy most of my stuff. I'm like, this is like a $20 box, if anything. And it's like 80, 90. I'm like, okay, I think I need to like take all my stuff over there and just say, go for it. And then I backed out. I decided to keep it. But then in the most recent auctions, I started noticing this. It is going back to, and now it's like $40. If somebody sees a box, nobody's like trying to outbid anybody, and whoever was the big bidders were just like, okay, I'm done with this. So maybe I might get my boxes back.
Well, and the other thing I just thought about as you were talking, Diego, is maybe part of that stuff of the lower stuff that still was selling, maybe part of the drop in that is all these knuckleheads sending in these $2 cards to PSA, BGS. They're not doing that because PSA is closed for however long, not taking submissions, and everybody else is apparently backlogged months and months and months. So maybe I don't know, maybe that's why this other stuff isn't selling, and why the stuff that's already graded is, because the opportunity and the time and the cost to grade stuff, has far exceeded the jump in everything else.
I will say there's also other things. Last week I attended the show in Arlington near you. It was the week after I set up a Cal show in technically Fort Worth, but it's actually by the airport, the FW airport. So it's really more Arlington as well. But I attended the show in Arlington last week. I spent $15 on what I called peripherals around the show and $10 at the show. And the only reason I spent $10 was there were two 400 count boxes that the guy priced at $5 each. I said, okay, this is interesting. This had 2021 Donruss singles in there. I haven't opened those. This had something else interesting. I'll buy these two boxes. And my friend Bruce, who I went with, and Ken knows him, and we had the same thought. Our dime boxes are these guys' dollar boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have every card in a plastic. I had before the explosion in plastic sleeves, and I'll still do it even if I have to use slightly used sleeves, which annoys me. I have every card in a plastic sleeve. It's new when I put. It was new when I put it in. And I mean, if you were buying quantity from me, it was 8 cents a card, 7 cents a card. These guys are asking $1 a card. Now, am I the crazy one for trying to have a reasonable price, or are they the crazy ones for asking 10, 15 times what the card, in our opinion, is worth?
So as I was shopping today at the card show, I had to kind of piggyback off your comment. There were various bargain boxes, and how I've kind of settled on a bargain box in my eyes, how bargain boxes should be laid out. Dime boxes, raw cards, no sleeves, just monster boxes. 25-cent boxes, I think, should be sleeved. Dollar boxes should be top loaded. And I know top loader prices are on really expensive now, but I was walking around today and some tables were like that. There was one table and it was a huge setup. Dollar boxes. Everything was $1 in these cards. He had a monster box of 2020 Bowman base. I'm talking veterans, not prospects, not first Bowmans, but like a like a Christian Yelich 2020 Bowman base for $1, and it's not even in a penny sleeve. And I'm thinking, and there were a lot of bargain boxes that your 25-cent box, your dime boxes, your 25-cent boxes are now 50-cent boxes. So I'm seeing, you're starting to see that floor rise on some of the bargain boxes. But I was able to get, there were some some of the tables that I go to at other shows. I know the dealers, and they have good stuff in them. It's pretty easy to see when you're in a bargain box. It's pretty easy to tell if there's going to be anything good in there by just grabbing one or two piles of cards. And if there's a 2020 Bowman base veteran for $1, I'm probably going to walk away from that table.
Oh yeah, and you're right about the world used to be, yes, you could put $1 card in a top loader. I was short of top loaders, so I would put this into my new purchases, but I actually stopped at my LCS and I bought some top loaders today, and because I was prepping for the show. And we figured out that the cost of a top loader was 27 cents each before tax. So we're talking 30 cents on a top loader. Now, let's assume you paid 50 cents for $1 card, and we understand that that's probably not what most dealers do. And when a top loader was 5 or 10 cents, you could pay 30, 40 cents, stick a 5-cent top loader on it, say thank you. Actually, it was never that cheap, but your cost may have been 35, 40 cents total. Now, 27 cents for a top loader. So let's say your card is 20 cents. All of a sudden, your profit for cards that don't sell real fast is maybe 100. Technically, depending on how you look at it, 50 or 100%.
Get old Yeller.
Oh yeah,
Old Yeller.
So, yeah, it's funny.
Those are good back spines for team bags.
There's a Korean one and a partial Yeller. Right there.
And you talk about top loaders and the prices. You used to they would be like 25 cents each, or you buy 5 for $1. Back and I'm thinking about back in the 90s. Back then they were a whole lot cheaper. Probably less than a nickel a piece. I think you bought $1 and $1.50 a box for a pack of top loaders back then.
Right.
And I know that they went up since then, but now it's like you see them on eBay for $8, $9 a pack.
Yeah. The last case I bought, Columbia Hobby always had the best prices. So in January or February of 2020, I was able to get a case at 5.5 cents per top loader. And even then, like I was buying used, like in medium flat rate boxes for around the same price. But, going back a little further, I could get used for 2-3 cents per top loader, back before March of 2020.
So speaking of top loaders, like these right here, it's just a knockoff card shell is what they call it. But I'll tell you, all right, so what it is, and here's another thing about this whole shortage thing. That shit's still being produced. It's still being sold. It's out there in China. That's where these came from. The companies are just holding back. Like, I'll say that. Because these right here, I'm buying these. Basically, there's a guy here that started his own little company called Card Shell. He's just buying direct from China, getting it shipped, packaging it up. And he's selling these for, I think these are about 13 cents a piece per top loader. So they're still out there if you want to go the route of buying direct from China. So
let me ask a question. You're in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Is it easier being in Korea to get something direct from China than it is here in America?
Well, here's the thing. Yes and no. Like, it's very quick. However, Korea has like a super low threshold in regards of customs tax. Our actual taxes kick in Korea at $150. So and the way they do the customs tax, it's not like let's say that I buy something that's $160. They don't do like, the customs tax on the $10 above the 150. They do it on the entire thing. So it's a very low threshold, which is why I often try to keep orders of things like under like $100 and between $100 and $150, because otherwise it's going to get held in customs. I'm going to have to pay taxes. And for something like this, they consider these sort of like luxury goods because they're not like a daily necessity type thing. So they're going to tax
because they're not collectors.
Right.
If they were collectors, it would be a daily necessity.
So they're gonna tax those things at a 20 to 30% tax rate. Because like, so for example, when I buy cards, and I say 20 to 30% because it does vary. Like, it depends on whose desk it goes across that day. Because I've been charged anywhere from 20 to 30% when I bought cards from the US and had them shipped. But in terms of actually getting it here in terms of speed and stuff, it's quick, it's easy. You do have the customs thing that you have to deal with, which is a low threshold.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like China orders and stuff, I showed this a while back, and Dan actually helped me out with this, but this was something that I had started with the slabs you buy, and I was gonna slab up one of each of the flagship Freeman base cards that I had with the label that he created for me, which is awesome, by the way. I wish he was here, but he has let's see right here.
Yeah.
It's the Freemans in the background of the progression of his swing. I tried to order them about 2 weeks ago and found out that my bank will not allow me to make a purchase overseas with my debit card.
Yeah, that's common. So when I lived in the US, when I would travel overseas, I always had trouble. Always. When I got to Korea, when I actually moved here, I had money that I couldn't even touch. And it's because the banks are always like blocking this overseas stuff. Yeah. Even though I called them and I'm like, look, guys, I'm in this country. I'm living here. Oh, right. We'll fix it for you. And they're like, oh, okay, you can use it now. And that's what they said. You can use it now. I go back to the bank, try to take money, and it's like, rejected. Please contact your bank. And it's like, You didn't fix anything.
I had the same issue. I tried to do it, and the card was declined, which I didn't give any thought to it to start with, but it got declined like 4 different times. Then I get a call from the bank, and there's like, if this is you, blah blah blah, card number, last 4 digits, such and such, such. I'm like, press 1 if this is you, and I press 1, and thinking, well, that's going to fix it. Go back in, still can't get through. Call my bank the next day. I talk to them. They tell me what the deal is. And they say we can unblock it for today if you want to make the purchase. I'm like, yeah, do that because this is something I want to buy. I say, okay, you're good. Go back in, same thing.
Right.
And I've went all the way up to like the corporate office, and they've told me that it's unblocked. I'm good. Make my purchase. Try it again. Same thing. I can't do it. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The only way it ever got solved in my when it happened to me before was actually just changed banks. Just went to a different bank. And that's sad that you have to actually go to another bank, open a different account to get a card or something that will work overseas.
Yeah. Well, our banks are so bad that which now we have 2 separate accounts. We've got our account, which is our weekly paychecks and whatnot, and I have an account that I have for myself that is, and it's been different stuff throughout the years, but now it's specifically ball cards.
Mhm.
But our main account, when we about 4 years ago, when my son was graduating from the Air Force basic training in San Antonio, we had to drive to San Antonio because, of course, I'm not going to fly. So we were going to be going through different states. So we had to go to our bank and tell them, look, we're physical travel from Georgia to San Antonio, so we're going to be stopping in different states to get gas. We need to unblock our card.
Yep.
Because I knew that if we use our card in Georgia, and then we used it in Alabama, and when we used it in Louisiana, at some point it was going to get flagged, and we was going to be somewhere between here and San Antonio with nothing but a debit card and can't get gas.
I will say with JP Morgan Chase, you can now go online with your account and say where you're going to be traveling and when.
Mhm.
And they won't block your account that way. Because that actually happened to me when I was doing my training for CompC. I had a really good show. So I paid with cash for everything for my 2 weeks I was out there. And I had enough cash. It was like, okay, I can do that. Then I wanted to fill up my rental car and then, with gas. And it got flagged for fraud. So I spent roughly 45 minutes with the fraud department of JP Morgan Chase explaining why I hadn't used it for 2 weeks and why I was in there. And I was able to verify myself. So I know exactly where you're coming from. But now from that point on, I go to my bank. I go to a branch like you did and say, let's say I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm going to be in Chicago from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Please let me use the card.
Like ours is so bad that we took our daughter to the Disney on Ice show in Greenville, South Carolina at it was then the Bilo Center. It's the Staples Center now, I'm sorry, the bars something, I don't know. It used to be the Bilo Center in Greenville. We took her to the show. As soon as we got there, when we walked in, the first thing we saw was a vendor selling Disney, like the stuffed animals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to buy my little girl a Minnie Mouse stuffed doll. Tried to make a purchase, declined, fraud. Found out the reason why is because we were trying to make a purchase in Greenville, South Carolina. There were a company that was based in Florida, so they flagged it fraud.
Right.
But in my case, it was a little bit more legit. After 2 weeks of not using something,
Right,
and then you're 2,000 miles away. I having worked for Bank of America, I get that totally.
right. I mean, luckily it was just it was a doll, and it wasn't like we were out of state trying to get gas to get back home.
Right.
That's a little more severe than trying to buy a stuffed animal for a little girl. Which, I mean, explain that to the little girl. She don't understand that, but
Anyway, I'm going to step out. Thank you all for having me. It's good to see you all. Ken, I will see you next Saturday, I believe.
yeah,
Yep, I will be there.
it's a Dallas show. That's right.
Yes, well, and then there are going to be some content creators, not just from the show I'm on, but other people too. And Dr. Jim is hosting, like we'll call it a round table or round tables, and meeting with various so it's a content creator weekend too. And I made sure my good friend Ken got on that list. I really did, by the way. I took care of you.
Yep. Which congratulations, by the way, Ken.
I took care of you on that, and it should be fun. I don't know exactly all the dynamics. I'm sure Jim will send out something, and I will keep. But it'll be fun. The results will be interesting, and it won't be on Zoom like this, but it'll be a fun experience for those who are there. And
I'm sure there'll be some outtakes on Jim's show.
Oh yeah, there'll be quite a few outtakes.
Right.
All right, we'll see you all later.
All right, appreciate it, Rich. All right.
What you got
Stamps.
there, George?
Korean stamps.
So
For my
Ken,
TTMs.
it looks like that
That's
Rich
wonderful.
broke the news.
What's that?
I was talking to Ken. It looks like Rich broke the news.
Oh, you know what? I actually, baseball collector Mike, he actually mentioned this morning, so I was going to tell you we could talk about it on Monday. I hadn't even thought about tonight because at the time I didn't know I was going to be on tonight.
Right.
So
Yeah,
So Ken got invited to the dinner for the content creators, which is awesome.
nice.
And
Yep.
and I think if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but the Hobby Roundtable was one of the things that was mentioned when he first contacted you. So
Yeah, like
yeah, I don't know if it was from us doing this or us doing the Monday show or what. Or I mean, I guess I've got the website too, though I'm not very
yeah,
active.
you've got a lot going on. So
But Uncle Rich got me in there, so cool. I probably wouldn't have gone to the show otherwise because I think it's no real secret how I am with the hobby right now. But I'm definitely not gonna miss this opportunity.
right.
I was hoping that Rich would have been here when we brought this up, but I wanted to jump in now to the next one was what happens. And I know I'm not trying to be morbid with this, and I know that it's been done on Beckett's show and it's been done on John Newman's show, but all our times are marked, and we all have hordes and hordes of cards. But what happens to our collection when we're gone? Does your spouse or your loved ones, do they know what to do with what you have? And basically, where does it go when you're gone? And I'll start on this one because I actually think that I've got a pretty good system for this, and I started this back when my first son was born. But and it kind of stems from when I had first got into collecting, I'd always wished that like my parents had bought me my birth year set, which is the set that I'm working on now, trying to finish, which is 72. But when my oldest son was born, I made sure to build, and I hand built it. I didn't want to buy it. I wanted to hand build it, but his birth year set, which was 93. Yeah, it's not that big a deal, but I hand built it myself, and I did the same thing with every one of my kids. And I've shared this before. The reason I got back into the hobby was when my first grandson was born back in 19. I'm like, well, I've got these sets for my kids. Now grandkids are coming along. I want to do the same thing for them. So I started building the 2019 set, and just I got back into the hobby. It got me more interested. But what I've done is like I've got boxes of cards that they're stars and they're Hall of Famers and they're this and they're that. But at the end of the day, they really don't mean a whole lot to me personally. But then I have my Freeman collection, which I've still got to decide how, if they want to divide that up, how that would be divided up. But as far as the sets, I mean, when they start going through it, which I put them in notebooks like this. But when you open them up, and this is my grandson's from 2019, his name is in it. So if they start going through this and they open it up and look, and they're like, oh, well, this is Cole, so this goes to Cole. And I haven't done it yet. And really the thought didn't cross my mind until about a month ago, but I'm going to put a little note in each one of them. They won't see it until I'm gone. But I thought it'd be something special, and knowing that I did it, I hand built each card myself. I thought it'd be something special.
Right.
And as far as, like I said, as far as the other stuff, like, the non-Brave stuff and anything that I didn't personally PC, it can be done with whatever they want to do with it, because that's just the extra stuff. It's kind of like Bo and your Cubs. I mean, the Cubs mean more to you than, the Padres do. So.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
And the only reason I say that is because, the Braves are playing the Padres right now.
Oh.
That was the first team that came to mind. But anyway, I would like to know what or hear if you had any plans, or if any of the rest of y'all ever gave that any thought.
Man, I'm just personally, I'm just trying to like get everything that I have like condensed, and I'm trying to get like everything cataloged.
Right.
So I've been doing a lot of trading card database and stuff, just going in, putting in like all of my PC stuff and all that. And, you know, sometime down the road, like whatever person I want it to go to, just give them that list and just be like, yo, here's a list. All this shit's yours. Do whatever you want to with it. Because, well, here's the thing, like, right, I'm not married. I don't have kids.
Right.
Like, you know, like most likely, where's my collection going to go? It's probably going to go to someone that I'm acquainted with that has
Right.
kids or something, probably, you know, so.
Yeah. And I get that. I mean, and for me, that was mine. Basically, it started, like I said, from when I first started collecting. When I won't say when I first started collecting, but once I had been collecting for a while, and then it got into the 90s, and you start hearing about these people that, oh, my father gave me this, he built this, this was my birth year, and I get to looking at mine, it's like 72. I'm like, oh wow, if my parents had got this for me back in 72, they probably could have got it for $25.
Right.
And I'm looking at it now, and it's like $500. I'm like, that would have been awesome. And then once I started building, or once I started having kids, I'm like, well, I'm going to do this for them. In the 90s, we all thought that, 93 Topps was going to be, it was going to put our kids through college. So, I put the
clear.
Right. I put the set together in 93, and then, I'm sorry, 94. 93 was the year I got married, but the 94 set was my oldest son, and then I did the same thing in 96 with my next son, and so forth and so on. But the problem I'm running into now is, kids are born at the minimum once every 9 months. Grandkids can come 3 per year. Which is what I'm running into this year, but hey, I'll do what I got to do. But
right,
unless you're like me, because my kids go from 27, 16, and then 5, and then I have a 3-year-old. Life happened, So, me having kids, my oldest son said, he would take a few cards to just, have, and like he's not a collector. If anything, he does like forget what it is, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that's the most collecting he's done. My youngest son, he seems like he's going to be a collector. He's got that bug in him where he's always want the Pokemon cards. Pokemon. Dad, you gotta give me more.
Right.
Okay. So if he does develop the bug, I said, let him. My oldest daughter, who's 16, she has no interest. And I said, I told my oldest son, and I told my fiance now, I tell her, look, here's what, if something was to happen, there's one shelf that's all my stuff. And then anything Ryan Sandberg are the treasured stuff for me. Like this, a lot of it was from childhood, and then this filling in that childhood with Ryan Sandberg. And I said, if you keep those as a memento, or some, divvy them up or however, you can remind me of that. But then everything else, I bought it for $10 a box, $20 a box. If you can get that, then take it, and split the money 4 ways.
So you're a Sandberg collector.
What's that?
So you're a big Sandberg collector?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I only got a binder.
I knew that was an extension of Bo's basement there.
Yeah.
Also, talking about cards. So, for example, because I have cards in like storage cases like this, like padded cases and stuff, hopefully that will lead whoever opens that up to realize, like, yo, some of these are worth like $200 or $300 a piece in here, and they're not just like some junk, right?
Right.
When like, you know, it's like I could understand if you know something happens, I'm gone, and somebody picks this up and they crack it open, and they're just like, oh, look, it's just a box of this. But when they see like a case that has locks and stuff on it, they might be like, this might actually have some value, right? So
I was just thinking, my kids are going to see something like this. A toolbox.
right, your toolbox. Yeah, I watched your toolbox video the other day.
Yeah, I have a few of those that are like that.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, I remember you said you were like, yeah, it's like this is just stuff that I just bought, and it's like maybe I was gonna resell some of it or
Yeah,
whatever.
I always had aspirations.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
had aspirations of reselling and you know, I'm gonna make all this money.
Right.
Man, I can't. I'm so bad at selling. I tried eBay and stuff like that. I just can't do it.
Look, I'm the same. That's the reason why I give shit away. I just give it away. I'm like, tell me what you want. It's yours if I have it.
Right.
I'm not good at. Here's the thing. I can sell stuff. I just can't sell baseball cards.
I can sell baseball cards. I just can't sell anything else.
I could sell you a car. I could sell you like whatever. I can't sell baseball cards. And I think it's because like me personally, like I come from a mindset of this truly is worthless. A car, okay, there's value in that. It's useful. This is pointless. So I think that's part of the reason why I can't sell cars.
Unless that's an SP, in which case I need it.
Well, you're getting all of mine because I took out every SP that I pulled out of that box, and you know I sent that list to you or whatever. So you're getting every SP that was in that box.
I need to double check that too because I've got my list.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I marked yours off or not.
I don't know, but you can't change it now because they're all like packaged up. So you're getting them.
Did you send it to me in a DM?
Yeah, I think so. So.
Yeah, I need to make sure I mark them off because I don't want to keep chasing the same card over and over because I ran into that with the 72s.
Right.
When I reach out, you know, and then you got 5 or 6 people coming at you, and I've got this, and this, and then when you get them, you've got 3 of the same card.
Right.
The person giving out the same cards.
Right.
I'll sit there and I send so late that they're just like, "Oh, I already got them. Sorry, man."
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like it's kind of like my 2021 sets that I've had to build, which I've got to build 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the grandkids, you know, but with one of the sets that I built, I ran into that where, you know, I posted my list and people reached out and I've got this, I've got that, I've got this. And then, you know, one guy's like, hey, you know, what you got left? And which was like 4 or 5 cards. Sent the list. He's like, I got you. I'll send them to you. How long's Top Series 1 been out? 3 months.
I don't know, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Came out in February, so
yeah. I hadn't seen them. So
3-4 months.
At this point, I've got to finish it so I can move on. And I'm sure that once I finish it somewhere else, like Sport Lots or somewhere like that, then he'll decide to send them, and I'll have double.
Right. And you know, and actually, the thing is, me personally, I'm fine with that when that happens because I seriously, I will just gift them or give them to someone else.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I am. I'm just sort of like, okay, I ended up with 2 of the same thing. Like, here's the thing. I'm a Cardinals collector, but if I have 2 of the same Cardinal, it's free to whoever collects Cardinals. Like, I'm not like every Cardinal I get, I'm going to like hold in my hands and clutch for dear life.
You don't want a million Cardinals.
Well, I was like that way for a while, but when I started the binder project and I started getting like lots of Braves and stuff, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to. I don't want to say be like Bo and do like a million Braves collection, whatever. But if I get a lot of cards, I go through. what I need for my binders. I put in my binders. I check them off my list. What I have that's extra, you know, if it's extra tops that I don't need for the binders, I do it. Which I don't do Panini, Donruss, Fleer, Upper Deck.
Mhm.
I just do tops for my binder project. But
Right.
all those, I've got them just sorted by year and put them in a. I've got a monster box. I'll put them in, and
Right.
you know I'll keep them because I look at it like this, that you know, and this goes back to you know what happens to the collection when I'm gone. If you know if my boys decide, well, you know they're all Braves fans. If they want Braves cards and they go through them, if they want to go through them, you know, and I have, you know, 4 Mark Lemke's,
Right.
split them up, one go to each one.
Right.
You know, however they want to do it. But, you know, I hold on to them. I don't really display them anyway, but, you know, I have them.
Right. Now when I say that, what I mean, like they're free to. So, for example, I put all of my one card that I have like in one thing. All the duplicates go into a box. I don't advertise like, oh, does anybody want any Cardinals? But if someone reached out to me and was like, yo, do you have these cards?
Right.
Then I'd look through that box and I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. I know like
I
some
get
people would never get rid of like their team ever.
Right.
But me personally, it's like as long as I have 2 of that card, one for that, and I have an extra one, then I'm fine to like get rid of it. Like, you know, I don't need 5 of the same card or 6 of it or whatever.
So what you're saying is if somebody was in need of a random Cardinal player that was an SP and Heritage, and you already had yours, then you didn't mind sending it out. I got you.
Yep, exactly, and that goes for yeah, even things like SPs or something like that. If I've got 2 or 3 of them, then okay, yeah, fine, you can have that one. I've got 2 more left.
I get it. I get it. I mean, look, I racked a Freddie Freeman rookie card
Right,
to a what was she 7? A 7-year-old
Right.
little girl because she was in love with Freddie Freeman and everybody's sending her these Freemans and all that. I'm like, well, and I reached out to her mom and I was like, look, does she have a rookie card? And she's like, no, you know, and I'm like, well, you know, I've got, which, you know, I think I'm up to 56 on the Freeman rookie cards. I said, look, I'm going to send you one for her. It's hers.
right,
So it's something like that. I don't mind doing it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't need but 3 of them. But I picked them up early because I knew that, like last year, he was headed toward MVP, you know, and I knew that they were going to start going up. So I just picked them up. Right. Yeah.
this guy needs to hit because I got into a Cardinals break and I got a lot of Dylan Carlson, which was nice.
So again, what is that out of?
Dylan Carlson.
Oh, with the Bowman. Okay.
Yeah, I got into a Bowman pick your team break and like got a big stack of Carlson out of it here locally.
Okay.
I've got my Dylan Carlson box, which is like a Pokemon box. that was Bo's holding box, but like since yours have been packaged to like be sent, they're out of that box. They're now packaged.
They've moved
That's
on
that's
down the
something
assembly line.
That's
Yep.
something I've got to do. I've actually finished yours, and I've got it over here in a box. I've got to get it in a box. I've got to get it in the mail to you.
I have stuff for
I'm
like
hoping-
everybody
I'm hoping
on the
that-
shelf.
That I've got, and I'm sure that most of this, probably all of this stuff you've got, I'm almost confident. But I'm hoping that I have at least one thing in there that you do not have. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Yeah,
By the
and
way-
that's everybody's goal when they send you something. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Send you
Right.
one
oh yeah.
thing
That's
that
like a
you do not
common.
have.
Yeah, that's the common theme.
Because look at somebody that's headed toward 1 million Cubs. It's if you can send them that one thing they don't have,
Yeah.
you've done something.
Yeah.
Yep.
So speaking of trying to find stuff that people don't have, shout out to Mark Hoyle. I know he's been popping in, checking in. His daughter was married today, so congratulations to Mark.
They're in the reception right now.
They're in the reception right now, so I'm sure
he's
he's
about to start.
Let's raise one for Mark and his daughter. Cheers to the boys.
Here we go.
And the addition to the family.
And I actually found something. I don't know if Mark, he probably does have it, but it was something unique because Mark sent me some Cubs a while back, about a month ago. So I know he likes vintage stuff, and he has everything. Mark has like everything Red Sox. So I know he probably has the item I found, but it was kind of up his alley. So I picked it up, and at least it's unique. It's not just like I didn't want some like vintage, just Topps base cards. I wanted to find something unique. So I found one thing for him, and I'm still looking.
Are you going to hold off and just send it, or you're going to show it?
I'm going to send it. I'm going to surprise him. I don't want to show it, but
right.
I'll surprise him with it. So
now I will say this, that when I said something about sharing our recent pickups and Mark wasn't able to make it, he did send me some pictures of some stuff that he recently picked up, and some of them was awesome. I told him, I said, I started following him just based on some of the stuff that he shared that he found. Yeah. The oddball stuff he finds is like, and there's one, it's not that old, and I'll show it in a little bit, but it's just wait. It is. I mean, to me it would be the find of a lifetime. And like I said, it's not. Nice. It's in the 80s, so it's not that old. But you'll see it when I show it. But
okay.
So when I show you mine, I'm gonna have to show it to you on my phone because I don't have it.
When you show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Show me yours. I'll show you mine. All right. Well,
this is on a disturbing direction.
Well, I mean, kid. I mean, did I haven't? I don't think you've said much about it. But do you have a plan for your collection after the fact?
So, yeah. So, some of you guys watch all of my videos. Some of you guys not so much. But in my videos, I've referenced multiple times my uncle is who got me into card collecting. For Christmas 1986, he gave me a hand-plated 1986 top set. Why is everybody laughing at me?
It ain't you.
We're laughing at George.
Yeah, all right. Private chat. Go ahead.
Sorry. I got now. So, anyway, he's the one that got me into card collecting. I mean, I've collected cards nonstop since I was 7 years old. I don't know myself not collecting.
Right.
So I don't think this topic is morbid. I think this is a topic that should be discussed way more often than it is.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack 3 years ago.
Sorry about that, man.
And he hadn't really collected cards. He kind of got away from it around 2000 when we saw the explosion of sets and inserts and all this, and it was just, I'm not doing this anymore. It's stupid. He actually, in the last couple years, he kind of got back into it just a little bit, dabbled in it. But even when he had gotten out of cards, he never got rid of all the stuff he had. I mean, this guy, I couldn't tell you, I couldn't even venture to guess how many Pete Rose autographs he has, how many Mickey Mantle autographs he has, that he got these things in person. He has every top set from 57 till, I think 56 till whenever he stopped collecting. A nice card collection. Well, he, like I said, he passed unexpectedly. He was into his mid 60s. So, but it's still something that they're not sure. The boys aren't sure how they're dividing that up. He's got two sons. Both of those boys, and like I said, the younger of the two had kind of gotten back into it with him a little bit, but they still haven't decided how they're dividing all that stuff up. It's also sitting in the house because he had gotten divorced from their mom. So it was just, it was just him in the house. And, they're still trying to figure out. And I guess apparently they've told me that I'm getting part of it because I'm the card collector. I was part of it growing up. But anyway, that was just to say that I think this is something that needs to be discussed more often, that people need to have, because honestly, the boys didn't necessarily have a whole lot of care. Like I said, the younger boy might a little bit because he was getting back into it. But at that point, he hadn't really collected that much in 20 years. He could have just sold the stuff off, taking care of that on his own because he already was into his 60s. But, he was a lifetime smoker, so on and so forth. So anyway, that being said, I just want to get out. I think it's a topic that truly needs to be talked about all the time. Yep. And I don't know what George is saying about me in private chat, but
nothing.
Anyway, I'm not just so. You had asked, like, does your other, do they know what you have? My wife doesn't really know what I have. No. She doesn't have that much of an interest. Now, when I talk about something I'm excited about, she'll listen. And she actually has probably more knowledge than I would say most wives. She's actually been, there was even, like, we were in some local, like, buy-sell trade groups, and somebody was trying to sell baseball cards, like, 3 or 4 years ago. And she, without asking, she just told the guy, she's like, well, these are really worth nothing because they're junk wax cards. Like, she knows, she knows enough because she listens.
Right.
And she pays attention. But as far as, knowing what I have and, T206 is, I mean, she knows enough to know that if it looks very old, it probably is, those kind of things. But she, she doesn't know the in and out details of what I have, but she does know. So part of what I wanted to do is, I've talked about, is downsizing. I want to get to where I have a lot less than I have. I don't know what number I'm trying to get to. But yes, I want to have kind of, I think it was George said, he just kind of spreadsheet everything he has. And that's kind of what I want to be able to do for her sometime down the road. Obviously, I need to downsize before I fool with that. Right. But I want to downsize, we have this dream of moving toward the beach someday. Well, we're empty nesters now, so we don't need to have as much stuff as we had before. So I want to get rid of a lot of that. And she knows who to contact. Mm-hmm. She, you guys know that I can sign through JT. Well, I told JT one day, it was just, dude, something happens to me, and I go radio silent, and I've keeled over dead. We're friends on Facebook, so he would know. But I was like, here's my wife's PayPal email address. So all the things that you sell going forward need to, just all that needs to go to her. And then she knows to get in touch with him and or my friend Jason, just to kind of take care of those things. But my goal would be to be downsized enough that, she can pretty easily get it there and not have to spend a whole lot of money and then just let them sell it off. I have a stepson. He's not into sports and that's okay. He's not into sports cards. Now that could change. Say he has a son and he ends up being into sports. It's entirely possible. That could change things. He or she might get all of it. They might only end up with, I've got that, 5-10 cards that are super sentimental to me because they're something my parents bought me when I was a kid, or they came from my uncle, that uncle I was discussing. So there's a few things, and somebody might be, want to keep those, but that would be like the Ricky Henderson rookie I have that would be graded a PSA 0. Right. But I've had that thing since I was like 10 years old. So, it's super sentimental to me. My Bill Ripken error card that I literally pulled from a pack in 1989. There's just those handful of things that somebody might want to keep because they can tell the story or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's something I've tried to do, is just try to prepare because, I'm a big dude. Things happen. Things happen to everybody. So, you want to try to at least be as prepared as you can. And, she doesn't really want to talk about those things, but You know,
And
I throw them out there enough that, you know, she knows who, if something were to happen,
Right.
you know, she knows who she needs to talk to. And, you know, I've got enough stuff that, you know, it's going to sell, and she's going to come into, you know, it'll help her out for a little while. So,
Right.
but yeah,
And
so
my
that's my approach on it.
Yeah. And my wife knows enough to know that, you know, as far as the sets, she knows that I've built sets for all the kids' birthday years and the grandkids. So, I mean, if something happens, she knows to go to those, and she knows how to divvy those up. And she also knows that anything other than that is just accumulated from opening boxes and whatnot, that stuff that I may have pulled or whatever. I don't care what happens to that. It doesn't mean anything to me. You know, if she finds somebody that wants them, fine. If not, if she wants to trash them, fine. But the sets that I've built, that I've hand correlated for each kid, that's where they go. And like I said, the Freeman collection and the Murphy collection, I haven't decided yet. If they want to, you know, split that up somehow, that's fine. If they want to get rid of it, that's fine. But the sets I built was built specifically for them. That's where I want them to go. And I think about 2 weeks ago, this is when I had thought about the little handwritten note in each set. Because, you know, like you buy the binders, they have like the inner sleeve on the binder that you can put like a piece of paper.
Mhm.
Like, it'd be cool to, especially now that like with grandkids, you know, some of them. I mean, you never know. I mean, next week I may be in a car accident and never even meet, you know, my grandkids when they get old enough to actually remember Pawpaw.
Mhm.
But to have a note, you know, from me, I know it would have meant a lot to me for one of my grandparents that I lost when I was younger. Than I was too young to actually remember a whole lot about him. But I don't know. It's something I can leave. If I've got nothing else to leave, I can leave that and the handwritten note.
Right. I saw something that was actually sad and cool at the same time. So, it was on one of the local collector things here in Korea. And one of the collectors here, his dad had cancer. And there's another guy here that does like custom cards. So he sent like some pictures of his dad to this guy that makes the custom cards to make a custom card of his dad, and he was going to get his dad to sign it, like to sign the cards. Well, so anyway, in that time between him getting it made and getting it back, it actually ended up his dad passed. But then he ended up finding like some letters that his dad had written. So he ended up like cutting out the signature on them and making like cut signature cards out of them. So that was pretty cool. Like, you know, and so he has them on display with his, you know, like with his cards. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So
Bo gonna do?
what's that?
What was Bo gonna do with his cards?
You know, that's
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm in that category that hates talking about this, and like Ken said, you have to. I'm married, no kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anybody close, you know, family wise that I would, you know, hand them down to, and I don't want to burden my wife with, like, she doesn't come down here to this level because of how overwhelming it is as it stands. So I can't imagine, you know, putting myself in her shoes if I were to go. It's something I definitely need to, think about my Cubs collection is just somebody tweeted me just a little bit ago about, what how I organize my Cubs collection, and it's not. I mean, it's a mess. I could pull out just a random box. I've got over in this corner just boxes and boxes and boxes. I've done it before. As I'm sorting, I'll open up a box and it's like, oh shit, here's a T206 that's just in a 400 count box back in the corner. And personally, I like that, having surprises. I know some people don't like the fact that they have so many cards that they forget, but I'm kind of the opposite. I love finding, hidden treasures. But I do. It's something that I do need to catalog. I don't have any plan on at this point in my life, which, I'm getting close to 40 and I'm overweight. I have high blood pressure. It's something that I do need to think about. So yeah, right now, I don't know. But I should probably get on it and figure it out.
Well, good, man. You're not wanting to be that burden on your wife. Now, like I said, my cousins, they at least have some knowledge because they did collect cards when they were a kid. They also know that they have me, that I can say, okay, he's got a good enough collection that it might be worth the guys from Baseball Card Exchange hitting you guys up the next time they're on a buying trip. Because I don't know everything he has, and I don't know the values on everything. But, at least they have me to kind of at least get them some information and guide them in some way, shape, or form. My wife doesn't really have that. So, but she has, like I said, just the top level of knowledge. If you talk to JT, you talk to Jason, maybe I develop some hobby friendships with some local people a little bit more. And that's kind of just what it is, Bo, maybe you just got somebody local that collects that, you trust. And then that way because obviously when that time comes, it's going to be hard on, our others. So
Absolutely.
That's just one thing you don't want them to have to stress over on top of the 500,000 other things they're stressing.
Right.
And I don't, I don't care if after I'm gone, if my wife comes back here and locks the door to this room and is like, you know what, I'm not touching this for now, and it sits back here. I know that once the day comes and I actually go through it, the stuff that I want to go to specific places, it's known because it's labeled. Whether I have a wheel or not, it's labeled. This, this goes to Cole. This goes to Whitley. This goes to Blaine. This goes to Brandon. It goes to they know where it goes. So, but yeah, and back to what you were saying a while ago about going through stuff that that you forgot you had. One of the things that I've seen in you, Bo, is something that I found that I forgot I had. So, it doesn't mean, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything to me, but it doesn't mean as much to me as it would to you, because, I'm not a Cubs fan. I'm a Braves fan, obviously. So it makes sense that it goes to you versus staying here. And, back to what we were saying, once I'm gone, it goes wherever. Mm-hmm. So, yep. So, let's get on into the recent pickups. I know you got probably a trunk load, Bo. But I tell you what, since he went through the trouble of, hold on, since he went through the trouble of sending it to me, let me start by sharing what Mark picked up. If I can get it up here and figure out what to do. I am not a guru.
Is that Lee Sung Yup?
Say what?
Is George, is that Lee Sung Yup?
Oh.
Yep, that's him.
Oh, yes.
That's one of my recent pickups.
He's one of the only KBO guys that I know the name.
All right, let me see if I can get this to do right and do it justice, because I know he's going to go back and watch. But share screen.
Did he play for the Cardinals?
Yep.
Chrome, Twitter. Here we go. All right, here we go. The first thing was this. Mickey Cochran. It said it was a 1934 gold medal premium put out by Wheaties to commemorate the 1934 World Series. And I guess this is a photo card,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the Murphy that I think you sent me, Bo.
Oh yeah.
And let's see what was next. Roger Clemens. From the 86-87 Sports Illustrated stickers from a store display. And I think this is the one I was talking about earlier. This is awesome. This is from the 1986 Topps Tattoo Artist Proof. Now, that would be the tattoo that you would get.
I have a bunch of those.
Okay, but look, this is the artist proof.
Oh, that's an artist proof.
Look, this is where they made the note to fix chin
Oh, that's cool.
on Boggs.
Right.
That is neat.
And then they okayed it once it was fixed.
That's cool.
It's like that was something that was back and forth between the artist and I guess Topps that put it out. Like, apparently the chin was too pointy or too square or something, and they're like, "Look, fix this, and we'll make it." And then his next one was Oil Can Boyd.
And Boyd.
And it was the same deal, which apparently there was no problem with this. They okayed it right off the bat. And then another
Mickey Cochran.
Mickey Cochran from the 36 Wheaties panel.
Those are so cool. I've got a couple Cubs from Wheaties, 30s Wheaties. That orange pops. I mean, for being, 90 years old, 80, 90 years old, those are beautiful. I love those.
But, the thing I noticed was, how people, they and excuse my language, but they bitch about the reuse of photos now. And, which, we had COVID and whatnot, and they didn't get as many photos as they probably wanted. But, if you look, this photo, this is the same photo.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is 34 and this is 36.
Right.
So
when Wheaties did a good job of branding by using those oranges, because I don't have anything like that. But I looked at that and I didn't know what it was, and I said to myself, "That's probably a Wheaties card." 20-something years ago, when I was a huge NFL fan and I was a fan, my mom got me an autogram, and it had, it wasn't the same look; it was more artwork, but it had that orange background. So they definitely did a great job of marketing them that way, and they stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's and these are my favorite that he picks up is these pins.
Oh, you Red Sox.
This is a 1910 cigarette pin.
Oh, that's cool.
Right.
And me and Mark was talking about this on the last roundtable. We we're talking about these pins because he showed one, and I'm like, these are awesome. Which is this is the back of it, which I guess gives the brand of the cigarette. And then this one, American League leader batter D. Alexander with a .367. And I think that was it. Yep, that was it. But, yeah, these pins, I love these pins. And some of his oddball stuff is just I love to see it.
Right. Yeah, that's cool stuff. Like, I actually bought my first Wheaties card a couple weeks ago, I guess. 2 weeks ago, maybe. Bought my first Wheaties. It was the Stan Musial.
Right.
Well, like one of the Stan Musials. He has like 3 or 4 of them, but I bought one of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything that far back. Which when I got back into it and started building back up a collection, I kind of set my sights on the 67 Braves, which is when they moved to Atlanta, and to more recent. So, I'm not going to get that far back yet, which I would love to, because like the T206s, I love those. And since I've been looking at some of the Wheaties cards that he's shared, I love the look of those, which I'm not sure. I hadn't looked at a checklist or nothing, but I'm not sure how many Braves cards are in those. But so what? Let's see. Who wants to go next?
Following that.
Ken, Diego.
I'll go ahead.
Because he brought like a truckload back.
Well, I'll go ahead and go because we're kind of on the topic of oddballs.
Okay.
So my mail days have slowed down, and that's fine. That's by design. So I don't know who has watched my Open Wheel Wednesday stuff, because I'm trying to get to the Indianapolis 500 stuff. But there's not a lot of card sets, and to collect it as you go back, and most of the card sets were in the 80s and then through the junk wax era. Before that, as far as like an Indy 500 open wheel, there are only really 4 sets. So I'm going to have to think outside the box. And a fellow Indy 500 collector, and he actually has probably the best collection. He probably has the most subjects, autographs of people that have driven in the Indianapolis 500. He's over 700 different drivers. But he had come into these in a collection and asked me if I was interested in them. So what these are matchbook covers. And I didn't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about them when I did the initial video, and then I went back later and I actually found them checklist on Beckett. So this is the actual 1955 and 1956 complete sets, both of them. But they're you got Indianapolis, you got Indy type cars, and then you've got NASCAR as well. Most of them are Indy 500 related, because at the time the Indianapolis 500, was the thing, and NASCAR was still in its infancy. I know that, for example, even if you guys don't know the name, you'll know the last name. One of the stock car ones, here it is right here, the one I'm pointing at, is Lee Petty.
Oh,
So that's Richard Petty's dad, and obviously a legendary driver in his own right. But yeah, these were just something different. So these were matchbooks. These are obviously opened. I don't know a ton about matchbooks, but I know that there was a big time in vintage football too where there was nothing. So matchbooks are kind of what there are out there. So I do know a little bit to know enough that they're obviously worth more. If they're obviously the most, as far as worth, which I'm not concerned about. But if you have like the unopened matchbook with the matches in it and everything, a lot of times you'll find them without the strikers, but these all have the strikers on them. Can't even really see them, but the strikers. But yeah, it was just something really, really cool, really neat, because there's just not a lot of stuff out there. What I think is interesting about these, I can't find a lot of them. There's maybe about 10 of them on COMC that are, shocker, severely overpriced. And then there are, I think, 3 or 4 more on eBay from another seller that are more in the range, at least the range of what I paid. But of course, I got a deal on these, so that when I get a deal on something like this, that makes me cheaper when I'm looking for additional stuff, because I don't want to pay, if I got a deal on this, I don't want to pay much more than I paid on these. But something that I found fascinating, and I'm planning to look more into, and I just haven't really done it yet, and I need to find more of them. If you notice at the bottom, so they're from Champion spark plugs, but if you notice, they've got individual service stations listed.
Oh, that's cool.
So who knows how many different versions, let me get these right, versions of the Lee Petty are out there.
Right.
Could there be these went to 250 different service stations throughout the country? Were they sent by Champion? Did the service station have to buy them? I assume that's probably what they did. So who knows how many different variations are out there? I want to say I have 22 of these, and that's the complete set from those 2 years. But what if there's 100 variations on service stations from each of them? Technically, it's a collection that you would never finish.
Right.
You would just continue to accumulate. So those are very cool. I'm hoping to, as I kind of keep poking my head more into these things, maybe I'll find more and more of these. But I had found them. I had seen some on ComC, went to my friend Mike, and then that's when he was like, hey, later on, a few weeks later, he's like, I just got these in a collection. I'll sell them to you for what I paid for them if you're interested. And I said, yeah. So anyway, that's the biggest purchase I've had recently. It's certainly oddball. It's something that's obviously just looking for a few months, not very easy to find.
Right.
Right. And, until you showed those a few weeks ago, I had never seen them. So.
Yeah, and there were like diamond match books. If you look at ComC and look at vintage football and you just sort by oldest, you'll see diamond match books in there, and they were a thing for a while. And I know that there are baseball subjects in there too. So that's another way to potentially look. But again, ComC is kind of how I find some of this oddball stuff, just because I search, I'll go whatever category and I'll just search the oldest, and I'll keep going through all the way through the 70s or, into the 80s, depending on, how much stuff's there. And that's where I found some of these random things. That's where I first learned about the football match books, if I remember correctly. But I know there are definitely baseball subjects out there since you guys are baseball guys. So maybe give that a whirl someday.
Yep. I've come close to buying a few of the matchbooks of like Cardinals in the past, but like you said, they were just too overpriced for me at the price point. I mean, it's like there were some that I had seen that were just absolute beaters in terrible shape, and they were wanting like $30 for them, and I'm like, I'd give like 5, maybe 10, but 30, nah, come on.
Well, and maybe it's definitely one of those things you have to research because it's out of our comfort zone. Right. Who knows? Maybe beat up $30 actually was a deal.
Right.
So it's so hard to find information on these things. The only thing one of the only things I could find on these, like I said, I found a few on ComC, a few on Beckett. When I went back and searched again, ComC and eBay. When I went back and searched again, I found where they were listed in Beckett, and I found on I think it was Worth Point where this collection was sold a whole bunch of years ago. This exact collection, because this was in there. That's awesome. I saw the guy in the description had his name. I actually Googled his name, found him on Facebook, and just said, hey, do you have any additional information on these? He didn't, but yeah, there's just not a whole lot of information on them. So, you kind of just got to do that research, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of funny, though. But yeah, you're right, though. I mean, there are times that I see stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, man, that looks like way overpriced. And then I do go out and I look at it, and I start finding, the few that have sold and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess that is kind of what they're going for, right? But then
again, do you want to put your $50 into that, or do you want to put it into another 55 PSA graded Bowman for your set? So, priorities as well.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to a lot with me. Like that, the Stan Musial that I'm talking about, it was like the 50, I believe it was the 52 Wheaties that I bought. And I bought it slabbed. But I'll tell you the reason why I bought it slabbed. It was because this card looks freaking perfect, but they slabbed it authentic because it's hand cut
Mhm.
and they didn't leave in the border. Because like it has to have
They
the
cut it.
border.
They cut it right on the border, like it should have been.
Right. So if you don't have, like, if you cut, like if it's got the border around it, if you cut on the inside of the border and leave none of that little border, they'll only slab it authentic. If you cut on the outside of it and leave some of that border, they'll slab it with the number. But so looked great. I think I paid like $60 for it, but I looked it up and they were going for 40, 50, a lot of times raw and pretty good in good looking condition. And I'm like, well, $20 for the slabbing, right? Well, it's more than that now. But so I figured it was worth it.
But then there's also there's the line of thinking is it should be. If you're happy with what you paid for it, then you didn't overpay.
Right, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
you were happy to add that, Stan Musial. I mean, legendary player, your team, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. Yeah, seems well worth it.
So you should have had it cut like this.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yep. That's how they want it cut in order to like give it a grade.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you like, if it and I know different companies are different on that. Like I think some of them will allow like a grade if you have at least like 3 of the 4 borders or something like. I don't know. The way I heard about it or learned about it was actually through Rick at Vintage Oddball Cards. Like I'd watched some of his videos talking about grading that stuff because he does oddballs, right? And he's like, "Oh, this is authentic. This is authentic," and like, "Oh, this one here actually has a grade because," and he explained why and all of that and stuff. So yeah.
All right.
But no.
Well, let's see. Who's next? George? You want to go? You got
All right.
anything you want to share?
Yeah, so okay. So I haven't really been buying a lot of cards recently. What I was showing earlier, things like this. I've been buying memorabilia. So this is this is Lee Sung Yup, the Lion King, as he's known. Like I'm not a Samsung Lions fan. I'm a Doosan Bears fan, but I did decide to start a collection of Lee Sung Yup just because he's like the greatest player in KBO history, more or less.
So he's like Trout of Korea. Gotcha.
Yeah, well, he's retired now. I don't know. He had 600 and something home runs. He was actually, if I'm not mistaken, he was maybe the youngest person in the world to like 400 home runs or something like that when he hit like his 400th or something. Anyway, great legendary player. I've got the box, but I can't get to it because I got this table set up beside me. I've got the box, but in the box, it has like a lot of different stats on it. Picked up these. So this is like Oh Seung-Wan. He pitched for the Cardinals. Again, another Samsung Lions guy. So
Is that plexiglass?
it's plastic. It's plastic.
Okay.
These are
It
actually
looks like those old shrinky dinks or something.
so like I'll show you. I'm not gonna break it. Like they actually come apart. Like you can just put it in
It
there.
looks like plexiglass.
Yeah, it's
Just me, or
yeah, that's sort of it's that type of plastic, sort of like plexiglass.
it's kind of thick, like an 1/8 thick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought this because because I collect him also because he was a Cardinals. Like so actually PC wise, he is someone that I don't talk about that I do PC because he doesn't have a lot of cards, right? Because he was a relief pitcher in the MLB. So he would get like 4 cards a year, maybe. So, so I actually have his Cardinals cards, his Rockies cards, his Blue Jays cards.
That sounds like my Rick Kemp PC.
Right.
33 cards in his whole career, so that was an easy one.
Right, right. So he definitely has more than that because of parallels, and also he played in Japan as well, so he has a lot of Japanese cards. But I don't have any of his Japanese cards. I only have his MLB and his Korean cards.
Okay.
But so I got that. Then it's so funny, Cardinals, but
Funko.
Arenado Funko.
There you go.
And there's a Goldschmidt Funko.
And it's awesome that you're showing the Funkos, because I shared a couple weeks ago that we actually have a card shop coming to my hometown.
Right.
And it's going to be a split between cards, comic books, and toys.
Right.
And 90% of his toys is going to be Funko. He has a deal with Funko where he's got a direct with Funko account. So like he's carrying some real like rare Funkos,
right,
from like Star Wars, Disney, MLB, NFL, NBA, and any other sport that nobody cares about. But I actually met with him last week and walked in, and he has a ton of Funko figures,
right,
back ready to display. So, which by the way, that I talked to him and he's agreed to come on with us on a Monday night. We hadn't specified exactly which one yet for a interview, so to speak. So
right,
that's awesome. So
nice.
But yeah, I love the Funkos. I haven't picked one up yet, but I want to, and I'll probably start now that I know somebody that can get them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So, all right. So here's the thing. I never was interested in them, but then like as of recently, the prices of things and stuff like that, and then also in addition, like just here and there and at random times, seeing people that have just walls of these displayed on their videos or photos or whatever, and they look really cool. And the best part is, if you can get them, this one isn't a special one. This is nothing special. This is just an Arenado, whatever. But that's the thing. It's like, basically these types of things right here, you can get for about, I don't know, $8 or something like that. I think I paid $8 for this.
Right.
So, it's a cheap, fun thing that I can put on a shelf. And so the last thing that I picked up recently, and I'll show you because I just bought this yesterday. So it's right there. You can't really see it because there's a glare and the glare, but that is actually the Yadi Molina 2021 Topps clear card. So those are the clear. So that's the hobby only acetates. So they're numbered to 10.
That's this year?
Yep. 2021. They're numbered to 10. I've only seen one sold, and it sold. I mean, there are only 10 of them, right? So you're not going to see a lot sold. I've only seen one sold, and it sold for $150 ungraded.
Wow.
I paid do the conversion rate. I paid about $85 for this one graded.
Right.
Now it's a 9. It's a 9. It's not a 10, but it is an acetate. So those cards are bad about scratches and scuffs and whatever.
Those and the printing plates they're awful. But the acetate, that was probably the most expensive Freeman card that I bought from last year. I bought the clear from the 2020.
Right. Yep. And the funny thing about that card is, so like I said, I bought it. I paid it. It would roughly fall in the $85 to $90 range is what I paid for it, like on the conversion rate. Funny enough, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, that's a 2021. It's already been graded. There is the backup. This dude had to have at least sent it at one of the more expensive levels to already get it back. And here's the thing. Here's another thing about that card. He's been trying to sell this card for over a month now. So this must have been a card that he got back like in a turnaround of like, say, a month or something. A month, maybe 2 months. So what did he spend to grade it? $100, $200? I don't know. But I mean, I'm sure he was hoping for a 10 and it didn't get a 10. So he's like, shit, it's a 9. It's not going to be worth anything. And it's like, well, 9 is mint. Right. And like, you know, and from what I'm hearing now, based on grading, most cards are coming out at 9s anyway now because they tightened the wrenches on it a bit, I believe, or tightened the screws on it. So anyway, that was my card. That's what I picked up, the 2021 Yachty clear card, number 8 of 10. So is what it is. Okay. So
well, that's Diego. You got anything?
Yeah, I did. I went through my unlicensed. I found some unlicensed stuff for Ryne Sandberg, being that's what I was talking. I actually took a picture of all the cards, and Ken commented on it that it's funny how the unlicensed was getting popular. I actually never heard of the Broder type cards, but I got some Ryne Sandbergs. Like that one was like one of my favorite there. I don't think I took a picture of this one, but then I got the Topps Living set,
right?
Sandberg, and then these are the more Broder type cards that I saw on Trading Card Database, and I went and found one of the guys who were selling them. So that adds to my collection there, but that's the back of the cards.
What are those?
They call them Broder type. They're unlicensed. They're just pictures of Ryne Sandberg cut into a form of a card, and they're unlicensed and made some type of distribution. And so they're just I saw them on Trading Card Database, saw that they were cheap, and I said, hey, what the heck? I'm gonna add these onto my collection.
Right. So cool. I mean that I'm sure. So Bo, cards like that will go toward your count, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. If it's got a cub on it, it's going.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was in my list, and I said, you know what? That's going for my super collection of Ryne Sandberg. So now with these cards here, I'm up to 521.
Okay. Nice. All right. Well, look, Bo, I'm going to leave you for last because I know you come back with a trunk full.
Yeah. Not quite a trunk full.
But I mean, the only thing I had, the major one I had was, and I talked about this Monday night and mentioned it on Twitter, was the 72, the Pete Rose. I done some digging and I looked into it, and from what I found, and I thought I had concerns about this thing being a counterfeit, but there are other 72s out there that were on a thinner stock, and I have actually found pictures of, and there's no way I can make this show up, but this one has lines. It's not going to show, but they have lines in it. And that was another concern I had. But apparently, I saw 3 others that's just like this, and one of them's graded. So take that for what it's worth. Said it was authentic, so I feel more confident about it. That was probably my major pickup for last week. Also, I've got 7 others for my 72 set coming up that I bought from eBay, Greg Morris on eBay, which puts me down to, I think, 40 left for my 72 set. And that's about all I had other than my Walmart pickup this morning, which was a surprise.
Nice.
So, not sure what I'm gonna do with those yet. I don't know, but that's pretty much all I had. But now I'll let Bo get into his card show haul.
Yeah, so I went to the Wisconsin Dell show. So before I show off, I won't show off like the biggest purchase was my bulk buy of NBA rookies. So I actually, it was the second booth I went to. He had 25-cent box NBA rookies, like the last 2 years, like second tier guys, third tier guys, like Romeo Langford, Matisse Tebboune, Sekou Doumbouya, stuff like that. And I'm like, I like pulling these for 25 cents. I still have my thing on. I like pulling these cards for 25 cents and just putting them away. And if one of them scores 30 points in a night, all of a sudden you can sell it for a few bucks. So I'm pulling, it's like I just spent an hour and a half, 2 hours going through 50-cent boxes, dollar boxes. So I asked the guy, how much for the whole box? Because it was all basketball rookies, a 4-row box, 3,200 count box. How much for the whole box? And he didn't really give me a price. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Because I'm all about seller names the price as a buyer. And he eventually said, you figure there's 2,000 cards. How about a dime a card, $200? Sold. I'll stick it away. I mean, a lot of these cards I can sell right now for $2-3 a pop. So I will set them aside, and if one of those guys pops off, awesome. So he goes, so who got the better deal, you or me? And I said, well, you've got cash in hand. So today you've got the better deal, but in 6 months, it might be me.
Right.
So now I'll show off. So I went to the dollar box bin I was at. So some Cubs, Kyle Schwarber, it's numbered to 150. Javi Baez, and these were Aramis Ottoman. Refractor, it's numbered to 499 for $1. I found some vintage Ernie Banks. This is a Jello.
Those are awesome. I love those oddballs like that.
Those Jellos are,
they're beautiful. $4.
Yep.
Ernie Banks. This was an Ernie Banks I didn't have. It's pretty rough, but it was $8. Not a bad price. How about this? Home run leaders. Look at this cavalcade of Hall of Famers. Willie Mays, Ernie, Hank Aaron, Frank Robinson, $7.50. So that's 63. I love that. 64. I can't remember what this is called, but Ernie Banks for $2. I mean, that's crazy. You can't go wrong with that.
Just like a gold flake type.
Yeah. It's from 1964. It's I can't remember
Aren't they just called like embossed or something?
Embossed, yes. That's exactly what it is. So here's
with the save.
Ken with the save. 64 coin, Ron Santo for $2. A stamp, Billy Williams stamp from like 64, I think. 1960 second year Ron Santo card from 62. Here's a slab. I did buy a slab, 53 Bowman slab. I think I paid, can't remember what I paid for this. Maybe $10. It's only a 4, but it's a slab and it's 53 Bowman. So that's some of my favorites.
I ain't trying to interrupt you, but did I say BVG?
Yeah, BVG. Beckett.
Oh, that's Beckett. Okay.
Yep.
That's an older one,
they I think it's pre-80 maybe is the cutoff, but whatever it is, on the vintage, it's a BVG
Yeah.
flip instead of the BGS.
Oh, it's vintage grading. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, I got you. I'm not into grading, so
I love these. These are
Yep.
the exhibits. I mean, for old vintage stuff, these are so cheap. You know, this is a
I
Phil
saw-
Cavaretta, $3.
you shared those on Twitter, right? I saw those.
Yeah, yep. I
Yep.
posted this on Twitter, and then I may have that Cavaretta in my collection, but I did not have Kirby Higbee, who did not play much, doesn't have many cards at all. So that was this is probably my favorite buy of the day.
He looks like a bull rider in that picture.
And then so at the end of the day, I'm sitting down and a father-son. The son was probably in his 20s. He's a slab guy, and he's talking about his pickups and sees my Cubs hat. He's a Sox fan. They're from not far from where I'm at, southern Wisconsin. And he goes, "Well, I've got this Chris Bryant. How about $20?" So it's a Beckett 9.5 rookie Chris Bryant for $20, and I'm like,
Snatch his arm off
all day long, all day long. I'm not a slab collector, but if this falls in my lap for $20, Chris Bryant rookie 9.5 all day long. So I picked up some. These were all in the 50-cent box. Vlad Guerrero Jr. from Gary V's set that came out at the National last year, 50 cents. Another Vlad Guerrero Future Stars. I took a bunch of Yordan Alvarez, Bowman Chromes for 50 cents each. Ryan McMahon, who's having off to a great year. This is a refractor. Another McMahon refractor. This is a Ryan McMahon numbered to 150, the Atomic. Canvas collection. I don't know anything about these, but it's from Museum Collection. Honus Wagner looked pretty cool. I figured for 50 cents, why not? Julio Rodriguez, big up-and-comer, one of the top prospects in baseball. How about a Topps Heritage Action for $1?
Nice.
I mean, Action from Heritage for $1 all day. And then,
Right.
and then I bought all these Jose Abreu's first Bowmans for $1 each. And I've sold a few for like $3 or $4 on eBay. So I'm like, I'll take it. I'll make a few bucks off those. So, and then I bought, so then I bought some Cubs 50-cent cards, Nico Horner. Now I do count these as part of my Cubs collection, even though he's in a Team USA uniform. So this is Nico Horner 15 and under from 2013, and it's numbered to 499. And I got that for 50 cents. So that's a big buy. Ed Howard, last year's first rounder, Prism Fireworks, 50 cents. This is a card that I didn't have, Rafael Palmeiro. And so even though it's Donruss, it's Panini unlicensed, doesn't have a Cubs uniform, I did check the back, and it does specify team, and it does say Chicago. So it doesn't say Texas. So that goes into the collection. So, and then some other stuff. So that's what I picked up. A lot of good stuff. I ended up buying about 2,500 NBA rookies that I'm just going to stash. And, maybe the NBA playoffs, one of the guys blows up and has a great game. And I'll flip it for a couple bucks. So it was a great show. Had a lot of fun. Was able to see some people in person for the first time. And, that's what I went to first. I went to my buddy Greeny Sports Cards, Steve and Steve. Talked to them. Real Breaks was there. Tom, my buddy. So I was able to talk to him. And then I dug into the bargain box after that. So it was heaven, because it was, I had a card show last month, but this was a big, they 300 tables, so it was a really big show, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wanted to actually, I love talking card shows. I don't know. It seems like that's the thing I love discussing the most. So, Scotty Tradition, his channel, he actually did like a 5 or 6 minute walkthrough video yesterday and posted last night. So, is this a show that's been going on for a while, or is this a newer show?
It's this was the first one.
Okay, because it was very impressive looking. Like it.
Yeah.
I mean, not Dallas Card Show, but I mean, definitely maybe if you were going to try to tier things, maybe just a level below, because I know I saw WC booth. Oh,
yep.
I mean, I'm not a fan of them, but still, if they're going to travel to that, then they're, I don't know that I saw any of the other more corporate booths there. Maybe you could mention if there were, but yeah, no, I mean, it looked like it was a very big show. I was shocked. I had no concept that it would be that big.
I didn't either. I was impressed. It's run by one of the promoters. Does a show in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, which is Green Bay area. So they teamed up with some other guys to put this on. And so just to kind of lay the lay of the land, it was at the Kalahari Resort Convention Center, which the Kalahari Wisconsin Dells is a huge tourist attraction. Everybody in the Midwest, it's like the vacation for anybody in the Midwest. There's a lot of indoor. So Kalahari is one of the biggest indoor water parks. They've got like a movie theater. They've got indoor water park, bowling alley. I mean, it's a huge, square footage, everything you can think of along with the hotel. And so this convention center is, really large, and they put it on. I was super impressed with, for being the first show there and how they put it on. I mean, it's got room to grow. I think they had capacity for 300 tables. It wasn't met. There were a lot of empty tables, but it definitely has room to grow. It sounds like they're going to do it twice a year, because I think their next show is going to be in October, August or somewhere in the fall. So maybe a twice a year thing. So they had some really impressive booths. I mean, you probably saw the picture on Friday floating around the Mike Trout slabs. And then, I saw a table. This is kind of where the mindset is in the hobby. Everybody's attracted to, ooh, look at all the Mike Trout slabs. Well, there was a table, and I shared the picture today of Babe Ruth Gowdy slab, Mickey Mantle 51 Bowman, an 8.5 55 Bowman mantle in the same case. And, it's like, screw Mike Trout. Look at Babe Ruth and Mickey. I mean, are you kidding me? It was just amazing. So there was a lot of, I said earlier, there was a lot of slabs, and it was a majority slabs, but there was a lot of, different vendors offering up different things. There were retail booths where it was nothing but retail, maybe a couple. But overall it was well run. I mean, there's not a single thing from start to finish. I mean, you go to the National and it's like, oh, I would have done, you can come back and say, I would have done this different. I would have, this sucked, this could have been improved. Today, this Wisconsin Dells show for the first time was really damn impressive. I mean, there's not, coming back, and there's not a single thing I can poo-poo and say, well, it sucked because of this. I mean, it was well done.
It'll be interesting to follow and see kind of how it materializes, because the first Dallas Card Show to like the third or fourth, I mean, there was just such an up when people see these videos, like I said, corporate sponsors or whatever. We may start seeing more of these. And going back to the national talk y'all were having earlier, I don't know that I desire to go to the National because I've got the Dallas Card Show here. I know not everybody's going to come in, but are we going to start getting these? You know, we've already got Antilles, we've got the one in New York, we've got White Plains, we've got Dallas Card Show. You know, are we going to start seeing these, you know, super regional shows? You know, this Dells looks like it has the potential. I mean, again, I'm shocked. I didn't realize this was the first show. So it seems like we have the potential to start seeing these super shows where you're going to get a lot of these people that are already traveling to the National to travel to these. And is this going to take away from the National at all?
You know, I think, and that's a great thing you bring up, because I was talking a couple friends of mine are from Cleveland that had a setup here, and they do a lot of collection buys in the Midwest. And one of the reasons they came to the Wisconsin Dell show this weekend was because they are still clearing out this gigantic collection they bought. It's amazing here in Wisconsin, in the Milwaukee area. So they're coming back and they're like, well, we're just going to piggyback. We're going to pick up more stuff from this collection in Milwaukee, and then we'll do the show in the Dells. And I asked them, I asked one of the guys, I said, you know, Dallas is starting to be, you know, a real nationwide show. Are you guys going to go down to that? And they said it's too far of a drive because they're not flying. I mean, I didn't really think of it in this aspect, but you know, a lot of these guys are driving because you don't want to take, and these guys deal with like bulk, you know, they had a lot of like junk wax era wax boxes, and you know, you're not going to fly with a bunch of that stuff. So they're driving and they're like, it's, you know, 19-20 hour drive. We're not going to go to Dallas, but we do Chicago. We'll do Atlantic City, you know, obviously Cleveland, you know, anything in the, you know, the East and in Midwest they'll do. So I think we could see with this rise and this popularity that, you know, Dallas has a great thing going, but we could start seeing pockets of almost regional nationals where Dallas is, you know, is a mecca for, you know, this area. In Wisconsin, Dells could grow to that in the upper Midwest, and maybe a West Coast grows. Chantilly is kind of that on the East Coast. And I think we could totally see regional pockets pop up where is there a need for the National because we have all these other great shows.
We need a southeast.
There you go.
National.
Somebody build up in Atlanta.
Exactly. Nobody likes Atlanta. I mean, but all right, guys. We're well over 2 hours, so we're gonna go ahead and cut it off here. Guys, I appreciate you joining me, and you know, look forward to it. Hope we can do this again next month. We try to do it once a month and just kind of catch up. If you're not following my channel, this is where we do personal rips and hobby chats on Monday night, me and Ken, and we do the hobby roundtable once a month. Give me a follow, subscribe. Of course, follow Bo at 1 Million Cubs, Ken at Beans B Card Blog.
Hey, can I say one thing? Go ahead. I just want to plug No, all good. Just for anybody maybe is either watching this now or watches the whole show by tomorrow, I'm going to do a live YouTube sale at 3 Central tomorrow, so before Eastern time. Just wanted to almost plug. All right, I'll go on mute now.
No, yeah, I meant to have told you to plug that because I retweeted it on Twitter, but yeah, and then we got George at KBO Collections. He's on randomly on YouTube. You haven't done a hobby drive in a while.
Nope. That's something that I might pick up sometime way down the road again in the future, but I just haven't been feeling it as of the last 4 months or 5 months or whatever.
And, you know, and those I really enjoyed those, especially back when y'all were getting all the snow and you were driving and seeing the snow in the background. That was pretty awesome. You know, and then the topic that you had or whatever you talked about, but I hope you pick those back up. Which I mean, I enjoy all your videos, but the hobby drive was something that it's kind of like Bo's show. I look forward to it every morning.
I think I think for me personally, I think it was just sort of I just sort of stepped back from content creation and Twitter a lot. Like shit was just stressing me out. So I was just like, I got to get away. So, and that's what I did. And I just haven't really, I mean, I'm still there, but just not as active.
I got you. All right. And also, Diego was joining us for the first time. Diego, we're happy to have you back. Enjoyed it. Of course, if you're not following Diego, he's at CBSC_club on Twitter. And you can also
Diego
follow
Torres SCD on YouTube.
There you go. Yep. And guys, I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing y'all again. And for everybody else, y'all take care. And guys, y'all are welcome to stay around for the after show.